Aaron Rodgers, 2-year stint with the Jets that he'll never want to remember when he goes into the Hall of Fame. He'll just say, please don't mention that. Now he's with Pittsburgh, and he had his best game since Green Bay. Threw 5 touchdowns. Is it 5, right? Am I right about that, Sam? I don't want to screw this up, too. 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, I've screwed up again. 4 touchdown passes against the New York Jets. Buy or sell, Aaron Rodgers will finish the season as a QB1, a 12-team league, top 12 fantasy quarterback. Buy or sell.
You know, the cop-out here is he stays healthy, yes, right? He'll do it. They're not asking a lot, top 12. Purdy's already not going to be top 12, right? He's already going to miss this week, probably another week, maybe as much as 5, they've said. So you knock him out there. There'll be other quarterbacks that get hurt, so you knock them out. I don't think he'd ever get top 5, top 6, top 8. But the 9 to 12, I hate to say it, he wasn't bad last year with the Jets, right? They didn't win games, but he wasn't bad. He had it when he played. He was a good, solid quarterback. You know, he can still sling it. He still can. I'm the first to admit those 4 touchdowns. It wasn't like he had a monster game. A couple of his interceptions were dropped. You know, that should have been picked off there. It seems like he did complete work for touchdowns. A couple of breakdowns by the Jets as well. So I don't see him really as going to win a league for you. But I'm going to buy this. If he stays healthy, hell, just give me 15 games. And I think he can be top 12. So I'll buy this.
I'm going to sell it. Yeah. I mean, games against the Browns and games against the Ravens. And look, I don't know if the Jets defense is as bad as they've showed. If it is, then this may be his best game of the season. So, yeah, I'm going to sell. I think he's on the outside of this looking in.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
It's time to rise and grind on a glorious Monday morning right here on the SportsGrid Network. This is the Early Line. I'm Donnie Rightside, joined along with Joe Ranieri, and you know the drill, people. Over the next 2 hours, we got you covered on all the hottest topics that you can possibly digest. Major League Baseball, the playoffs are here. The New York Mets, they're golfing in October. And talk about golf. How about the Ryder Cup? Almost a sensational finish by Team USA. Just wasn't able to get it done in an unbelievable day of NFL action, which concluded with an unbelievable performance on Sunday Night Football from the Packers and the Cowboys. It's time to get busy, Joe. It's time.
What a weekend it was, Donnie. What do they say? Are you not entertained yet? Because there was a lot to unpack that happened over these last couple of days. And, postseason baseball should be a lot of fun beginning tomorrow.
My Philadelphia Eagles are going to start the postseason next Saturday, so I can sit back and enjoy this week. But the one thing we do know, Joe, the energy must be high to start off on a Monday. The topics are there, but also, I know Caffeinated Joe's got something for the people out there.
All right, Donnie, let's talk about what we learned here as we close out the month of September. And it's one of the most important lessons to keep in mind when betting the NFL. And the lesson is simple. Do not overreact to anything you have just witnessed in the month of September. Case in point, Donnie, a couple of weeks ago, I could have sworn on this network and every other network, we should just stick a fork in the Kansas City Chiefs here because their season is over at 0-2. And the Chargers are going to be the new face of the AFC West and the AFC. And, well, Trevor Lawrence can't play. And don't forget Jacksonville Jaguars, even with Liam Cohen, are going to be absolutely horrific. So we have already anointed teams that we thought in the month of September aren't any good because of how they looked early. And yet, here we go. Not dead yet, Donnie. What a shock. And on the flip side, keep in mind that not only are we witnessing changes in regimes here and kind of new eras, look like MetLife Stadium, for instance, the Chargers that everyone anointed couldn't beat a rookie quarterback. How about last night with the Packers? Remember the Packers, Donnie? They were going to win everything. This team was unstoppable, except when they went to Dallas last night and gave up 40 points and almost lost. Now everyone's doing it with the Ravens, who got absolutely destroyed yesterday in Kansas City. But remember, they are 1-3 on the season, the first time in a decade. But 5 of their most paid players weren't on the field at that game early on, Donnie. Injuries are a thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes teams are exactly as bad as they're supposed to be. Somebody explain to me why Weekend at Bernie's is still being rolled out for the Browns there when we just saw Jackson Dart go out there and win a game for the Giants and breathe new life in them. I don't get it, Donnie, but here's what I do get. We're 4 weeks in. There's only 2 unbeaten teams left. There is a ton of football, and more importantly, a ton of money to be made in October. Why? Because we're going to be betting against the market and all the overreactions to what they just witnessed in September.
I love it. Little caffeinated Joe to start off your Monday morning. And maybe Bad Bunny heard that and goes, hey, man, Super Bowl time. We'll get caffeinated for that one. We'll get to that and much more. But now it's time for the early lineup, Joe. The hottest topics across the sports landscape, which did include the 40-40 Club last night. That's a big deal in baseball and maybe a bigger deal in the NFL. Packers 40. Cowboys 40. Nobody could stop anybody in this football game once we got to under 2 minutes in the second quarter. You had 319 from Dak Prescott. You had 337 from Jordan Love. 3 touchdown passes for Jordan Love. 3 touchdown passes for Dak Prescott in a tie, Joe.
Case in point, Donnie, that was a game last night. We heard all week. Oh, why even watch it? Like, go to bed. Again, it's going to be awful. I mean, really? The Packers are so mad they just lost to the Okay, I had that word. That might go down, Donnie, as the greatest game of the season last night. One of the craziest finishes you'll ever see. And yet everyone was convinced it wasn't worth watching. Be very careful with the Packers and the Cowboys moving forward.
Kansas City Chiefs, they're alive. They are now sitting at 2-2, but my goodness, the Baltimore Ravens dropped to 1-3. They got hammered at Arrowhead yesterday, 37-20, and also to add insult to injury, Lamar Jackson goes down with a hamstring injury. The 1-3 Baltimore Ravens, but the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. How about Patty out there? 270 in the air, 4 touchdown passes. That offense looks like it's back in rhythm, Joe.
So what does it mean, Donnie, if the odds makers still have the Ravens as the favorite to win the AFC North? Is that more about the Ravens or more about the fact that the AFC North is absolutely horrific there? But again, injuries piling up. No Lamar Jackson, early pulled a hamstring injury there. They lost 5 of their highest paid players in that game yesterday, Donnie. Not great, but it's far from being over yet.
My goodness, yeah, the Ravens are the walking wounded right now, and who knows if it's going to get any better. One of those teams where I thought was pound for pound the most talented team in the NFL, now the most injured team in the NFL, it feels like. How about the Los Angeles Rams coming back to knock off the Indianapolis Colts 27-20 in Los Angeles? Matthew Stafford, 29 of 41, 375 in the air, 3 touchdown passes in a victory for the Rams, which shows the Colts their first loss of the season.
Yeah, and that poor Colts receiver who just happened to accidentally take a touchdown into a touchback because he had dropped the ball, and then gets another touchdown wiped out later in the game to Jonathan Taylor because he was caught holding for some reason. I have no idea why, but rough game for Indy. But still looks the part. The theme on Indianapolis hasn't changed. They were very much alive and capable of winning that game on the road against that defense.
Jackson Dart time in New York City, a 21-18 victory. Who saw that one coming? Dropping the Los Angeles Chargers now to 3-1. And by the way, Dart was only 13 of 20 for 111 yards. He also ran the ball 10 times. I'm going to tell you right now, Jackson Dart won't make it 3 more weeks if that's the game plan they have for him, but credit the Giants for getting a spark and winning. I just don't know how much Jackson Dart's going to be able to run the football 10 times a game on quarterback draws, Joe.
I agree, but I'll also say this. At least the defense of the Giants showed up to play yesterday, and that was also a big reason why. So finally heading in the right direction, that franchise.
Eagles second half, which included Jalen Hurts not throwing for a single yard, still able to hold off the Buccaneers in 100-plus degree temperatures. The Birds stay unbeaten and knock off the previously unbeaten Tampa Bay Bucs.
Yeah, thanks, Baker Mayfield. That great interception in the end zone
It
there
was.
from the 10-yard line of Philadelphia. Really, I mean, quality. Unbelievable. Hey, but you got to win the game, right? And that's exactly what the Eagles have done. 4-0 to start the season.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. The postseason picture is here, Joe. Everybody's in, except those New York Mets.
Well, you know what? I think the Tigers are feeling like they shouldn't be in either. What's the difference? We got to play the Guardians. My goodness. This is going to be a lot of fun watching this go down.
It's pretty good, man. Playoff baseball, midday baseball this week. The big boys get back involved next weekend. Here's so much fun to watch. Ryder Cup action. Europeans, they got up to a big lead. They held on to win their first away Ryder Cup since 2012. They're celebrating. I'm sure they're probably still drinking pints right now, Joe.
Yeah, but the biggest winner in the Ryder Cup, the NBC television executives who that match, Donnie, didn't end until 5:30 Eastern time yesterday. That's when they finally closed it out. Epic finish by the Americans, but too little too late, ultimately.
I got to tell you, I loved it. I actually watched a little bit more of that golf in the afternoon than I thought I was going to, because that massive comeback at that point, sensational stuff to watch it play out. We got to wait 2 more years. And hey, Team USA, get it together and play as a team. The one thing we know, we are individualized in the U.S. Like, hey, we'll handle our own business. Don't ask us to chip in and help our teammates out. That's why Europe won that cup here, because why? They're very good teammates. Team USA, not very good teammates here. We got an action-packed show on the horizon for you, which does include Spreadlines, Spreadlines, Spreadlines. Coming up next. Don't you go anywhere. Right here on the Early Line.
So let's play a little game of buy or sell. It would appear from most of the reports, George, that Mike McDaniel is going to keep his job as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This is a long season, though, and they're already 0-3. Buy or sell, McDaniel will be the Dolphins head coach at the end of the season.
He's going to get fired. All right. It's either now, later in the season, at the end of the season. He's not making it to next year. So the only question is, do they let him go towards the end of the season here? New York, Carolina, Chargers, Cleveland, Atlanta, Baltimore, bye. Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington going into that bye. And that Washington game, by the way, is in Europe somewhere. So I don't think he survives that. I don't think he's going to survive the bye week. I think it's going to go 1-3 of those games, maybe even lose all 4 of those games. No. And I think they will trade some players away, so they're going to be a worse team than they are now here. No, I'm going to sell this. He does not make it to the end of the season. I think they're going to fire him after week 11, if I had to guess. I think it's the perfect spot, because not only is there a bye week, tough schedule beforehand, but then you have New Orleans at home. Good place for a new coach to start.
My thing is this, George, and here's why I am going to buy this. I think he's going to make it through the year, and then he's going to be fired. Is because I just think it is rock bottom right now. They're 0-3. So, are they going to lose 3 consecutive games again this season? I don't think so. I think they're going to win 6 games or 7 games, which tells me it's win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss, So I just think they make the change at the end of the year. If they're not going to make it now and they're 0-3, the only thing that I would say to caveat would be is if they lose in their next game. If they lose that next game, then 0-4, yes, I think it happens. I don't think they will, though. So I am going to buy this.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Hour number 1 in full effect right here on the Early Line SportsGrid Network. Donnie Rightside and Joe Ranieri. No ties here, only winners here. And by the way, we had so much action in that first little segment here, Joe. I got to remind the people out here on these streets about what we're doing on buys. I think if you're not watching our buy section, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sweep, 6-0 into the weekend. Do I have that correct?
You are absolutely correct. And Fridays might have been the easiest of them all, too. So certainly hope folks have highlighted the page and are coming back and visiting us each and every day for sure.
You know what they're coming back for each and every day, Joe? It's Spreadlines time, which now we get into some of these games and some of these situations that we dive a little bit deeper than those surface level numbers, why you need to pay attention. And let's get it started. We got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football tonight, the Jets and the Dolphins. Tell us why, Joe, this spread line matters.
Yes, I like to refer to the Jets and Dolphins. If they were a college football team, this would be the toilet bowl, Donnie. These two teams are horrific on so many levels. And we talked about bad is bad, and these teams are bad. But the problem is the sharp money has been on the Jets all week. How do we know this? Well, you got 60% of the tickets, 80% of the money have been on the Dolphins, and yet this line has not moved one bit yet. Still sitting at 2.5. And listen, you'd be very hard-pressed to find anybody here that thinks laying 2.5 with the Dolphins is somehow a value play, Donnie, especially since Tua 5-0 straight up, but only 3-2 against the number versus the Jets in his career. And the Dolphins and Tua are terrible in primetime games. They're 5-10 against the number in these spots. And when they're home in primetime, oh boy, Tua is awful. 1-3 straight up, 0-4 against the number. And maybe the best nugget here, Donnie, when two winless teams face off, going back to 2004 at this point, the underdog, 74, 41-5 against the number. Good for 64%. I'll be on the Jets and the sharp side.
And by the way, Joe was telling you previously about, watch out for what you see in September, which makes for an easy win, right? The Denver Broncos are minus 7.5-point favorite over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals absolutely stink. So why isn't it 17.5? What's the spread line here, Joe?
Yeah, so, I mean, it turns out no Joe Burrow and the Bengals are, quite honestly, a dumpster fire. Shocker. Oh, or are they, Donnie? Because Browning, yes, he got destroyed against the Vikings last week, but it's not like his teammates who were fumbling the ball all over the place were helping him either. And by the way, this is not his first rodeo. He was forced into the starting quarterback position back in 2023. 9 games he threw for close to 2,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. And given what we've seen from Denver, Donnie, so far, and how they just love to find ways to keep bad teams in games, this doesn't scream blowout by the home team. So we would assume Denver has this big, incredible home field advantage because while they're in the altitude. But the problem is they haven't been any good in these games. Since 2017, Denver 4-8 straight up, 3-8-1 against the number at home in night games. Wouldn't surprise me if the Bengals get late money in this game, but anything other than the Broncos in a teaser, you can't trust the Broncos laying more than a touchdown here, Donnie, in any way, shape, or form.
Major League Baseball postseason begins this week, and you say, whew, Tigers made it in, thank goodness. Who are we playing? No, it's the Guardians. How about that spread line, Joe?
The Guardians, one of the best stories in all of baseball, Donnie, that nobody will talk about. Yet they have a chance to advance to the next round. Why? Because they basically have drawn the team that they know they can beat better than anybody. They rallied from 15.5 games back to take the division. And whatever swagger the Tigers might have had this year is gone. Skubal is starting in game 1. This game starts tomorrow, this series. Are they going to win that game? Does anybody believe that Skubal at minus 150? Donnie, they haven't even named a starter, the Guardians, and they're only a minus 150 with him on the mound. This will be 9 games in 17 days. That's what they just played against one another. Who knows Skubal better than the Guardians? Oh, by the way, he has faced them 3 times this year. 17 batters he has struck out, 12 innings, 2 earned runs allowed, and oh yeah, Donnie, they lost both those games that he faced them in. They're going to lose this one again as well.
How about this next spread line here? Oh, it's the Mets and the Dodgers. No, it's not the Mets and the Dodgers. It's the Reds and the Dodgers teeing it up this week here. How about that one?
Yeah, congrats to the Reds. You made it to the postseason. Now enjoy your offseason because it won't take very long for this to be done with. You lose 4-2 to the Brewers, and then you got to pray that the Mets don't. Oh, that's right. The Mets didn't score a run, so you're good to go here. But listen, congratulations. The Reds did something nobody thought they could do. Yeah, the problem is the Dodgers dominated the head-to-head meeting this year against the Reds, Donnie. 5 of 6 matchups they won. They outscored Cincinnati 30-15. They both have similar metrics, Donnie, but the reality is the Dodgers, when it comes to offense, have outscored the Reds by more than 100 runs this season. They've outslugged them by more than 50 points. But congrats to the Reds on making the postseason.
And how about those Red Sox and Yankees renewing a partnership that goes back decades and decades and decades? But how about this one, too? There's a pitch clock here. We used to love these, Joe, in the early 2000s where they play 5-hour ball games. Red Sox, Yankees, round 1. Yes, please.
Gotta love it. Red Sox went 9-4 against the Yankees this year, including 5-2 at Yankee Stadium. But that's where they'll get this 3-game series is in the Bronx. They've won 8 of the first 9 meetings against the Yankees this season, and they did it rather easily, too. They outscored them 54-31. However, down the stretch here late in the season, the Yankees claimed 3 of the final 4 games. They held that Red Sox offense to just 12 runs in the process. You got Fried, you got Rodon. Those 2 will be big against Crochet, who starts for the Red Sox. But the Yankees, Donnie, minus 180 to win this series as a favorite. If the Red Sox are going to have a shot, they've got to win game 1. And by the way, the Yankees yet to beat Crochet this season. Big game 1, maybe bigger than any other series here.
And by the way, we're getting treated here to some great professional sports. A doubleheader tonight for Monday Night Football, and tomorrow, 108 game, 308 game, 608 game, 908 game in Major League Baseball in the playoffs, and then they do it again on Wednesday. Fantastic! I love this. We'll be right back for more action. What happened last night? I'll find out.
So let's play a little game of buy or sell. It would appear from most of the reports, George, that Mike McDaniel is going to keep his job as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This is a long season, though, and they're already 0-3. Buy or sell, McDaniel will be the Dolphins head coach at the end of the season.
He's going to get fired. All right. It's either now, later in the season, at the end of the season. He's not making it to next year. So the only question is, do they let him go towards the end of the season here? New York, Carolina, Chargers, Cleveland, Atlanta, Baltimore bye. Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington going into that bye. And that Washington game, by the way, is in Europe somewhere. So I don't think he survives that. I don't think he's going to survive the bye week. I think it's going to go 1-3 of those games, maybe even lose all 4 of those games. No. And I think they will trade some players away, so they're going to be a worse team than they are now here. No, I'm going to sell this. He does not make it to the end of the season. I think they're going to fire him after week 11, if I had to guess. I think it's the perfect spot because not only is there a bye week, tough schedule beforehand, but then you have New Orleans at home. Good place for a new coach to start.
My thing is this, George, and here's why I am going to buy this. I think he's going to make it through the year and then he's going to be fired. Is because I just think it is rock bottom right now. They're 0-3. So, are they going to lose 3 consecutive games again this I don't think so. I think they're going to win 6 games or 7 games, which tells me it's win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss, So I just think they make the change at the end of the year. If they're not going to make it now and they're 0-3, the only thing that I would say to caveat would be is if they lose in their next game. If they lose that next game, then 0-4, yes, I think it happens. I don't think they will, though. So I am going to buy this.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Whoa, ties usually go to the runner in Major League Baseball. Ties go to the Green Bay Packers and Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. 40-40 That was the final score last night on Sunday Night Football between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott threw 40 times, also ended up with 3 touchdown passes. Jordan Love threw 43 times, also ended up with 3 touchdown passes. They combined for 6 touchdown passes and no interceptions. Crazy high passer ratings, offense across the board, which I don't know what to believe. Like, Dallas was a train wreck last week on offense. Looked absolutely stunning against a much better defense against the Packers. Then there's the Packers who are 2-1-1. I'm led to believe that that defense is everything that you want it to be, and they get 40 dropped on them. What an unbelievable game last night that ended on a late field goal with 1 second on the clock in OT. 40-40 tie.
And they're lucky they had 1
They were,
second,
too.
Donnie,
They were.
because LaFleur is out of his mind. The problem is, I think LaFleur was so shocked at how bad his defense was in that game, Donnie, that I can't believe I'm in overtime. The fact that they even had 1 second based upon how awful the clock management was there in overtime is shocking. But your MVP is Brandon McManus. My goodness. Not only did he kick the tying field goal to get you in overtime here, but the 34-yard to get you the tie. I don't know how anybody is happy in Green Bay. Yes, we didn't lose, but you got to be kidding me, man. Both though, we expected Dallas's defense to be terrible, right? Yeah. What is Green Bay's excuse? You got to be kidding me, Donnie.
Unbelievable. You were supposed to hang your hat on that defense. They would crush that offense for Dallas. That wasn't the case, as it turns out. I'll tell you an interesting case is the Philadelphia Eagles struggled their past 2 times going down to play Tampa Bay in Tampa. Now, last year they went down without A.J. Brown and without Devontae Smith, and basically this game looks like they went down without Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, but came away with a victory 31-25. I had Jalen Hurts yesterday, one of my few losses of the day, over 191 passing yards. He had 130 passing yards at the break. He finished with 130 passing yards. He didn't throw for a single yard in the second half in the Eagles' 31-25 victories. The Eagles improved to 4-0.
And, Donnie, how? This offense is atrocious on so many different levels. In one quarter, they look like world beaters. And then for stretches of the game, Donnie, I mean, it's where are they? Where do they go? I mean, they're struggling to run the ball. And because teams are saying, well, we don't believe that you can throw the ball downfield, which they can't. How they held on to that game is absolutely beyond me, Donnie, because in that second half, they had a stretch of offense. They ran 26 plays. They got 14 total yards. Tampa got right back in that game with an opportunity to win it in the end, but then Baker took over, and while he can't win them all for coming from behind, but my goodness, the Eagles, yikes, they better figure it out and get some consistency in that offense at some point.
Eagles-Broncos next week in Philadelphia. We'll see if they get right after that 100-degree-plus temperature game where the Eagles clearly ran out of gas, but you just didn't have enough for the Buccaneers to certainly overtake them. How about the Buffalo Bills, 31-19 over the Saints? The Saints with the cover. The Saints run the Philly special. What are you doing, Saints? You actually probably could have won that game if you didn't make some boneheaded decisions. But there's Josh Allen, 209 yards, 2 touchdown passes. And James Cook looks as good as ever with a $117 on the ground. The Buffalo Bills get the win and move forward to 4-0.
We talked about the spread line last week, Donnie. One of the topics was we're 3 weeks into the season, and we already have more than a 2-touchdown underdog against a team that, quite honestly, doesn't need to impress anybody by winning by 3 touchdowns or more and hasn't done a great job of it over the years. Listen, the Saints hung in there. They played great for about 3 quarters, and then Josh Allen was like, I'm done with this in the 4th quarter, and then they ran away with it. But you know what? Great teams win, even better teams cover, and, well, New Orleans got that cover yesterday, didn't they?
I saw this one also coming from a mile away. The Atlanta Falcons were embarrassed last week, and as Joe pointed, it's a week-to-week league in the NFL, people. Big win for the Atlanta Falcons. They improved to 2-2 and dropped the Commanders to 2-2 with a 34-27 victory, which saw Bijan Robinson 75 yards and a touchdown on the ground, 106 yards in catches here. Big day for the offense for the Falcons after getting shut out last week.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, this game was closer than most people thought it was going to be. That line flipped during the week because the Commanders only had 5 remaining starters on the offensive side of the ball available to suit up and play in that game yesterday. So that was closer than many people thought it might be.
By the way, why does everybody feel like every team is injured already in September? Where are we going to be, Joe? Late October, November, into December. I'll tell you where we'll be next. Ireland, people, grab a pint of Guinness, and we're going to talk some Steelers.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
MVP hopes, as far as my eyes can see, out of here. No way. No way. Not with what I'm seeing around this league right now. Josh Allen should be in front of him. He is. Herbert should be in front of him. He's not just yet. Jalen Hurts should be in front of Lamar Jackson. People may not want to hear that, but it's true. Jordan Love is in front of Lamar Jackson. That's a pump the brake special. Come on now.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Heading overseas to Ireland here, the NFL, 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff on a Sunday morning saw the Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely rolling 21-6 by the time we got to the fourth quarter. But what if I would have told you, Joe Ranieri, that Carson Wentz would throw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns? Wow, Minnesota's rolling again. They just blasted the Bengals. They blasted the Steelers. Not the case. Too many turnovers. And how about this? Kenneth Gainwell elevated to the starter because Jaylen Warren was injured and was inactive. 19 carries, 99 yards. 2 touchdowns on the ground. How about the Steelers? 3-1 now in the season.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors here with the Steelers as well, as Minnesota lost not 1 but 2 starting offensive linemen again in that game early on, and it showed because Carson Wentz was also running for his life. He ended up getting sacked 6 times there, had a couple of ill-advised turnovers there simply because trying to run for his life. But that defense of Minnesota, they gave up just one too many big-time plays there, and they made Aaron Rodgers turn the clock back there. But ultimately, Carson Wentz and his arm, Donnie, made that quite the game in the second half. They did have the ball back with an opportunity to at least try to get in field goal position to tie it, but fell a little bit short. But Minnesota's another one of these. Too many injuries on this team. No running back. They're just no offensive line. They're in trouble here.
By the way, Mike Tomlin did a typical Mike Tomlin thing yesterday. Now, the goal obviously is to win a football game. Late in that football game, Joe, 4th and about a half of a yard, when you've been absolutely crushing Minnesota on the ground, they elected to punt. Now, granted, did it work out in their favor? Yes, it did. But I always look like even the announcers like, hey, man, you hand the football off and get a yard, it's over. Like, now you're going to give Minnesota a chance to get back into it. Steelers did win, but as Joe says, maybe a little smoke and mirrors action right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's keep it moving to the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns. An easy win. I always love the Lions at home. You get them on turf in their own building, they're electric on offense. But were they really yesterday? 168 yards from Jared Goff in the air, 109 yards total for the team on the ground, but yet they won by 24 points. Why? Because Joe Flacco is an absolute statue in the pocket. The Browns on offense were Quinyon Judkins and nobody else. So just Quinshawn himself. When are they making that move, Joe? When?
I do not understand what Stefanski is doing. We just watched Dable, who's on the hot seat as well, right? Make the switch from a fossil to his young quarterback, and guess what? You just beat a team that nobody thought you had a shot at beating because the kid comes in and elevates everyone else around him. And for some reason, you're still rolling out Weekend at Bernie's with Joe Flacco and thinking everything is going to be okay. How bad is Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders if at this point in the season, Donnie, you're still rolling out Joe Flacco and thinking you're going to beat Detroit? Like, absolutely not here. Stefanski, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's being told to do that, but Joe Flacco cannot continue to start games. It's about the future for the Browns, which likely won't include Stefanski.
I'll tell you what the interesting part, too, is when you watch, it's like just zero blitz. Joe Flacco, he can't move. Like, if you ask him to get off of his three-step drop, he can't move, and it's an incomplete pass that he throws away each and every time. We'll see how quickly we get that change made. I'll tell you, changes were made for the New England Patriots. They won 42-13 over the Carolina Panthers. Week-to-week league, you say, hey, what happened last week? Wow, Panthers 30-0 over the Falcons. You knew this was going to happen. Drake May, 203 in the air, 2 touchdowns. Passing, and then you take a look at the rushing attack. Scored 3 times on the ground and only ran for 104 yards. It just shows you how bad the Carolina offense was yesterday. 42-3, where Andy Dalton had to come into the game and throw a touchdown late. Blowout city for the Pats.
Yeah, no, not good. And all the issues that have plagued, Carolina over the last couple of seasons, and Bryce Young reared its ugly head again there. But, I mean, how do you open up the game? You give off, a punt return, a kick return. It's like, here you go. You're already behind the 8 ball on the road. And kudos to Drake May. Maybe, just maybe, starting to come into his own here. And kudos to Mike Vrabel, too, for righting the ship and making sure that nobody fumbled the ball away again today in that game.
One thing we do know, the Houston Texans have a very good defense, but their offense stinks. This game was 6-0 at the half. Hey, the Tennessee Titans are right in this one. The Titans dropped to 0-4 on the season. Cam Ward was 10 of 26 for 108 yards passing and an interception. C.J. Stroud actually threw 2 touchdowns yesterday, had 2 total coming into this game. Woody Marks, Nick Chubb. Come on now, 26-0. That's as bad as it gets for a Titans start this year, Joe.
Well, I mean, kudos, because they actually protected Stroud. I think he only was sacked twice, which is a step in the right direction. 2 touchdowns, 233, first shutout win since 2010. But again, unless you're playing Tennessee every week, there's still a lot of glaring deficiencies on this offense of the Houston Texans.
It's an absolutely brutal performance overall. Like, it was really embarrassing. And again, me sitting on a prop for C.J. Stroud, I'm like, they don't even have to, they could take a knee in the second half up 6-0, and that game is going to be over at this point. But he ended up throwing 2 touchdown passes. If you had the team total, he also got over for the Houston Texans. But that game stays way under because why? The Tennessee Titans certainly don't have an offense at all. How about having an offense now? The New York Giants. When were we going to make that move off of Russell Wilson? Was the offense overly impressive? No. The defense showed up yesterday. That was a good Chargers team that they beat at home. And how about Cam Scatterbo? 25 rushes yesterday out of the backfield as the lead dog. You know who else had 10 rushes? Jackson Dart. First start, first win. Giants get their first win of the season as well.
Yeah, kudos, but you need to figure, so he cannot be your end-all, be-all, running the ball there is work to be done there, but, I mean, that's a big win against a team like that with that quarterback and Herbert. Defense elevated its play, but they got to figure out maybe a better game plan for Dart outside of him having to run around all the time, because you will get that kid killed before it's all said and done.
By the way, in this game, too, like devastating news because you thought the future of the New York Giants would be what, Joe? Jackson Dart throwing to Malik Neighbors. He runs down the sideline. That turf monster caught him up. Non-contact injury, basically jumps up, blows that knee out, lands to the ground. That's going to knock him out for this year, maybe the start of next season. And that's what, if you're a Giants fan, it wasn't the win that you were happy about. It's like, hey, let me see this young offense getting gear the rest of the year so we can truly gauge them. Your best weapon is now down, which means more action on Jackson Dart. The offensive line isn't very good, and you can't run Jackson Dart 10 times. Like, if you watch that football game all the way through, I watched a lot of it there. It wasn't as if, like, okay, let me take a play back, and I'll be in shotgun, and I'll scramble for 6 or 7 yards to get out of bounds. These were a lot of designed runs, like, right up the middle for this kid, Joe.
Yeah, that's why they call it death life, right? Not MetLife here, because the amount of Achilles and ACL injuries and that turf has been an issue for a long, long time here, and yet they continue to use it. So that's just a devastating loss, and what a roller coaster of emotions for Giant fans, because you had Dart and you had an opportunity. You know, you won the game, but now he's going to have to play the rest of the season without their number one wide receiver. Just tough situation all the way around.
And by the way, when you look at the NFL landscape right now, Joe, sometimes in the month of September, it's like, okay, 5 teams are 4-0. They look fantastic. You have the Buffalo Bills sitting at 4-0 and the Philadelphia Eagles sitting at 4-0. Not all that impressive of 4-0 teams, and they're the only 4-0 teams out here. Teams that we thought would be really good. The Baltimore Ravens 1-3. Maybe the Chiefs getting off that schneid 0-2, now sitting at 2-2. But I look at the NFL right now and the landscape of it and say, it feels like a lot of teams are going to be in this thing to win at the end of the year. And also, Joe, a lot of teams that maybe are just healthier than other teams. The injuries are incredible so far.
Yeah, I'm telling you, by the end of Sunday, the Ravens were playing without their 5 highest paid players, right? I mean, left tackle Ronnie Stanley, their defensive tackle, Marlon Humphrey at quarterback, Roquan Smith. You go down the list here and you're like, my goodness. Yeah. And we're not even into October yet. So, yeah, there's a lot of teams like the 49ers as well that continue to lose players without any hope of any of them coming back anytime soon.
By the way, looking at Houston and Baltimore next week as a game, that's incredible. Like, you're going to have so many players down for Baltimore, which includes maybe Lamar Jackson. Look, I'm a hamstring guy. You have to leave a game because your hamstring hurts and you're a quarterback that's built on mobility. He's probably out this week, and they're still favored by 7. Tom Vecchio is coming up next. We're going to talk Monday Night Football with Mr. Vecchio next.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
MVP hopes, as far as my eyes can see, out of here. No way. No way. Not with what I'm seeing around this league right now. Josh Allen should be in front of him. He is. Herbert should be in front of him. He's not just yet. Jalen Hurts should be in front of Lamar Jackson. People may not want to hear that, but it's true. Jordan Love is in front of Lamar Jackson. That's a pump the brake special. Come on now.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Monday Night Football doubleheader. It's what we do. We love football season. It's fantastic. Baseball tomorrow in the playoffs, but tonight we get the doubleheader, and it's set up perfectly for your boy. Why? 7:15 and 8:15. We're not waiting until 10:30. Bozo NBA schedule. We're playing these games side by side, and I love it. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri, and we welcome in Tom Vecchio, the jack of all trades, here to talk some Monday Night Football. The NFL, Tommy, in full swing, man. Crazy day yesterday.
A crazy day yesterday. We have two games tonight. I'm not sure if they're going to be good, but there are two games tonight, so we can get into those. As you guys were talking about in the last segment, the injuries are piling up. Teams, and
Yep.
Donnie, to your point, teams that are just simply healthier, those are going to be the best teams. And even if they're not the actual best teams, they're just going to end up winning when it's all said and done.
Casualties all over the place. Maybe some casualties tonight. Let's take a look at game number one. That's the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins offer that sort of mini bye for playing and getting a moral victory against the Buffalo Bills. They're going to take on the New York Jets. This line opened up around 3, but sits at 2.5 at most outlets here, Tom. 44.5 looks like the prevailing number on the total. How are we playing it? Justin Fields back under center for the Jets.
You know, the total seems a little bit light to me, considering that neither of these teams can play defense. No one can stop anyone. You know, the Jets are now healthier than they were over the past week and a half or so. And there's a 0% chance that I'm going to be laying points with the Dolphins. I think, and listen, I'm not excited to take points with the Jets, but if this were reversed and the Dolphins were on the road and they were getting 2.5 points, or they were getting 2.5 points, I would probably take the points with the Dolphins. I'm not laying 2.5 points with the Jets if they were at home. So the game's going to be what you make it. And, you know, when I turn things to a prop perspective, it immediately brings me to Justin Fields, and it's got to be under 8.5 rushing attempts. You just got him back. He should not have too many designed runs as he did in week 1 to put him under danger, because he's coming back from a concussion. Getting a few scrambles here or there, just naturally being pushed out of the pocket, sure. But having designed runs at a high volume is a wrong way to approach tonight's game for the Jets.
What about the Jets are going to run the ball, though. They're also not going to drop him back 30 times in this game and have him throw it around. So are there any of the running backs here on the Jets side, or maybe even Ollie Gordon on the other side?
Yeah, I don't mind Breece Hall. He was pretty solid against the Steelers. But if they do drop Fields back, I expect them to be very short A-dot passes, very low A-dot passes. So Breece Hall either rushing or Breece Hall rushing plus receiving is very easy. You don't have to have Fields in a 7-step drop going through multiple reads. It's like, hey, drop back, one read. Nope, get it right out to Breece Hall as your second option. So Breece Hall, rushing, receiving, totally on board with that. I think you could say the same thing about Devon Achane. And then, Ollie Gordon, he's a bigger back. I think they may use him around the goal line, and Devon Achane's going to be used inside the 20s. And then we're going to see Ollie Gordon closer to the goal line. And that may take away touchdowns from Achane.
Muggy tonight, Miami, 83 degrees at kickoff here. And also, if you were watching yesterday, they painted that field. It looks spectacular. I don't know if the Miami Dolphins are going to hold up to how good the field looks, but we'll find out a little bit later tonight. A 2.5-point favorite across most outlets right now for those Miami Dolphins. Game number 2 tonight, which is going to start at 8:15 in the Mile High City. Cincinnati's going to go with Browning again. They got hammered and embarrassed last week against the Minnesota Vikings. Bo Nix and the Broncos just looking to get another win. Their favorite, Tommy, -7.5 and a similar total to game number 1 at 44.5. It's a week-to-week league, as we like to say. Boy, that week couldn't have gone any worse for the Bengals last week.
And I don't know if this week's going to go much better. The 7.5 points is a lot. Obviously, if you got a 6.5 or a 7, whatever it might be, that's obviously far more interesting to me. But a 7.5 is a lot. Part of me thinks that Jake Browning is better than what he showed last week. It is a very good defense that he played. Brian Flores from DC from the Vikings. But I'm not sure things are much easier this week. And, seeing Jamar Chase, seeing his number at 65.5 is a very, very light line for Jamar Chase, but he's likely going to be shadowed by Pat Surtain, so it's not going to be any easier for him. When I immediately turn to this game, the Broncos have to get back on track. They were a playoff team last year. I think the coaching advantage is clearly with the Broncos, and the Bengals defense is absolutely terrible. So I like 2 player props from the Broncos. That's going to be going to J.K. Dobbins over 64.5 yards and go to Cortland Sutton over 65.5 yards. This is the spot for their offense to shine. The Bengals right now, they're sitting 24th in the league when it comes to EPA per rush allowed. We should be seeing that. Cortland Sutton is the guy in the passing offense. I know Troy Franklin has stepped up just a bit in terms of taking some target share away, but Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram, those guys should not be reasonably taking targets away from Cortland Sutton. I think they both have big nights.
Like it.
Mims has got the hip injury too. So does Troy Franklin, who's also, I think he's got the second most snaps of those receivers there, and he's the favorite target of Nick's. And if it's not Chase, should we be focusing on Higgins?
I think so, but a part of me thinks that the Bengals won't have more than 50 rushing yards combined. It is absolutely terrible. Seeing what Chase Brown, and it's not his fault, the offensive line is absolutely horrible. There's some stat that he's the first player since, was it 1993, to have 40-plus carries and have 50 yards or whatever it is. He's averaging under 2 yards per carry. It's absolutely terrible. I don't mind Troy Franklin overall. I prefer Cortland Sutton just because the fact that he has an A-dot that's sitting over 14 yards. He can get downfield and he can get to 60 yards in 2, maybe 3 catches. Doesn't have to be a high-volume guy. T. Higgins is totally a fine option. I would actually look towards a T. Higgins before Jamar Chase, even though it's not the talent thing. Obviously, the Pat Surtain issue is a thing for me. So I would say T. Higgins, yes.
By the way, Tom, let's do a little cheating right now. We talk some NFL action on Monday Night Football, but tomorrow, Major League Baseball is back in our lives with 4 games, which includes 3 in the afternoon, and you're going to be watching center stage 6:08 p.m. That's the Boston Red Sox coming to the Bronx to take on the New York Yankees as a favorite at a -132 price. How are we feeling about the playoffs right now for the wild card round?
Not excited. I already have a position on the Red Sox at +132 before the line moved. I'm expecting Crochet to start. I don't know where that line has dropped, but I saw it as low as +112 a little bit later last night. So I'm on the Red Sox money line, and I'm going to be on the Red Sox money line every single game. It is a pure emotional hedge. I will bet on the Red Sox. I will lose that bet every single day if that means the Yankees advance and the Red Sox lose. It could be the best of both worlds for me.
There you go. By the way, game number 2 already setting up there, Bayo versus Rodon. I love playoff baseball. I love afternoon baseball. It's fantastic stuff to watch them. Philadelphia Phillies, I don't get to play till Saturday, so I can sit back and sort of relax, but also can take umbrage where the Mets getting knocked out of the playoffs. Got to be a laugh for a Yankee fan, and also the Major League Baseball with that stuff. Tom Vecchio, thanks for joining us this morning and bringing that energy. We'll talk to you soon. But for us, we're headed back to the NFL next.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
MVP hopes, as far as my eyes can see, out of here. No way. No way. Not with what I'm seeing around this league right now. Josh Allen should be in front of him. He is. Herbert should be in front of him. He's not just yet. Jalen Hurts should be in front of Lamar Jackson. People may not want to hear that, but it's true. Jordan Love is in front of Lamar Jackson. That's a pump the brakes special. Come on now.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Start smashing the panic button, people. And I don't mean that you're watching the early line like, oh, no, it's a big panic in here. I'll tell you what's up. Donnie Rightside and Joe Ranieri. The panic button decides in the Charm City. You know where that's Baltimore. On the road, I actually thought they were the better football team coming in against the Chiefs. Did I bet the side in that game? No, I didn't. I did have a player prop on Patrick Mahomes over 238.5 passing yards. He got to 270. But not my wildest dreams that I think that this game would go over, which I did. But the Kansas City Chiefs in full control for just about that entire ball game, 37-20 final. We saw Lamar Jackson get injured and a plethora of defenders getting injured also. And also the offensive line, Ronnie Stanley, exited with an ankle injury. As bad a loss as you can get. It's one thing, Joe, showing up, hey, 37-34, tough one. We'll get you next week. We're 1-3. We'll be fine. But losing 37-20, getting hammered in that game against a team like the Chiefs, you might be battling at the end of the season for playoff supremacy with the game being in your own building. The Ravens felt like they didn't even show up. 7-0 lead. Yay! Hammered the rest of the way, Joe.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, again, I think the reports of the demise of the Kansas City Chiefs was a little premature, Donnie, because this was only the fourth game of the season. 2 of the first 4 games for the Chiefs at Arrowhead, they were underdogs. You're playing with fire here. So to me, I think the Chiefs getting Xavier Worthy back was the storyline of that game. They are a different offense when they can stretch the field. And that was clear as day against that Ravens defense there. Not to mention, Rice is on his way back. So all of a sudden, you're protecting Mahomes a little better. They went for it on 4th down, Donnie. How many times? Yeah. I mean, every time they had a 4th and 2, they were going for it. They didn't care. They were going to force that defense to stop them. And guess what? They couldn't. But the injuries for Baltimore are concerning. But I'll say it again. You look at the books right now. Guess who the favorite to win the AFC North is? It is still the Ravens. So they are too well coached, too good of an organization. They will figure it out, but you got to get some sort of clarity on what the hamstring situation is for Lamar Jackson as well.
Superstar backup Cooper Rush went 9 of 13 in that game in relief. And if you have a hamstring injury, I doubt that Lamar Jackson's going to play in the following week here. You're going up against the Houston Texans that have a very good defense and a couple sack artists. So I would watch out for this one. Precautionary. It's never precautionary for a superstar athlete in a big football game, no matter what the score, unless there's 3 minutes left to come out of that football game. There's something more to that injury here. That's a tough one to see. And also, the injuries keep piling up there for the Baltimore Ravens. 1-3 now on the season. I'll tell you who played well in offense, particularly late. You saw some fireworks yesterday out in Los Angeles. The Colts. You can't make mistakes like, a long touchdown pass that turns into a touchback. You're in full control of this game. You need to stop. Couldn't get it there. But credit to the Los Angeles Rams. Couple touchdowns in the final moments, which included an 80-plus yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford to Tutu Atwell. 27-20 Rams. Great bounce back after that devastating loss to the Eagles the week before, Joe.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, Danny Dimes, couple of turnovers in that game. But again, if you're watching that wide receiver, that young wide receiver of the Colts taking the touchdown to the end zone, and of course, dropping the ball before he gets to the goal line and making it a touchback, and then having another touchdown wiped off because of a hold to Jonathan Taylor. They did a lot of what everyone else has done, like what Denver did, right? Shot themselves in the foot when they played them. Well, they shot themselves in the foot against the Rams. They were very much in that game and had an opportunity to win it. And I can make the argument, probably should have won that game.
Shot themselves in the foot, Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. You can't turn the football over that many times and expect to win a football game, and they didn't. I like the Jaguars coming and getting 3.5 points from the 49ers, 26-21. Jacksonville. Uncharted territory at 3-1. The Niners also their first loss of the season. They dropped to 3-1.
Yeah, turnovers were the story of this game here. It didn't help that They lost a fumble, a couple of interceptions by Brock Purdy. I mean, at one point, Ricky Pearsall was hurt on the sidelines. Jennings, I mean, literally, the only people he had to throw the ball to, Purdy, were obviously his running back and himself, Donnie. I don't even know how this game was this close with how many injuries the 49ers had. But kudos to Jacksonville. Looks like they're finally starting to figure it out and play some football.
Bears going to block at the end of the game to beat the Las Vegas Raiders 25-24. The Raiders had 240 yards on the ground, 7.7 yards per carry, Joe, and they lost. Why? Because Geno Smith stinks.
3 interceptions. Donnie leads the league now. 7 INTs. You just keep rolling them out there. Let's see how that works out for you there, Raiders.
Shout out Geno Smith. Had him over 1.5 touchdown passes. It was a perfect game for Geno. For your boy DRS. Hour number 2 comes up next.